Hey, everybody. I am here with my good friend, Tish. We are here. We are having lunch, and it is Friday. So here we go.
Yeah.
And listen, what better way to have a podcast and interview such an amazing human in our community and an incredible entrepreneur? And so Tish wanted to have lunch, and I said, absolutely. But the deal was she had to give me an interview, and she agreed. So here we are.
Okay.
And she's amazing. So we're hoping that our microphones block out a little bit of the music. We tried to find, we think the lighting's okay.
Wait.
What do you guys think?
I know.
You got lighting?
We have lighting.
I think the lighting is really,
I think it's great.
There's literally, we're
Just
in a dark
pretend you
spot.
can't hear
I know,
the
right?
music behind us.
I
Or
think
the
we'll be
PPM.
okay. I think we'll be okay.
Yeah.
We'll be okay.
I hope
Listen,
we're
these
okay.
mics are expensive enough that
I hope
they
hope
better
we're
block
good.
out. I know.
it's our first drink. It's seriously our first drink. Anyway,
all right. So I'm introducing you all to Tish.
thank you.
So Tish is she's a Pilates instructor in Milford. She just actually sold her business. But I always like to start these interviews off with the origin story. And, she's a fit queen. Okay. So first of all, so I always want to know, what brought you to where you are? Like, how did you get into Pilates? But prior to that, what is your actual, what brought you to health and wellness to live a lifestyle like that? How far back do you go?
Oh, gosh. Well, my son is 26. So it's, a good 20 years. Typical. Had a baby. Want to get my mom body back. It doesn't look the same as it did before. Hello. Raise your hand, women, if you've been there.
Right.
I'm going to own it.
Yeah.
Totally, that was me. I am vain.
Babies ruin our body.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
But they're so worth it.
Okay.
They're so worth it.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right.
So anyway,
I'm sure my daughter will watch this.
I
Yes,
was
so worth it.
I was a boot camp junkie.
Okay.
I was doing the 6 a.m. boot camp for so long.
So high intensity
Yeah.
stuff. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
High intensity boot camp, you know it. Male, female, but most of the time it was all women. And just started having shoulder issues. And had more shoulder issues. And then started doing PT for the shoulder issues. And cortisone shots for the shoulder issues. And so it was just one thing after another. But in the meantime, now the kid is grown. Our son is older. And my husband and I and our son at 16-ish got into heavy weight training. So we're lifting. And, I'm 5'3", 115 pounds. I'm not a big, I'm not tall. But, I'm like, let's lift. And so, my legs have always been strong, but what about that upper body? Shoulders are an issue.
Yeah. And women in general, as you know, we're so weak.
We're
in our
so
upper
weak
bodies.
in our upper bodies, especially,
Which, why should we? We carry babies and car seats.
Let's be real.
Yeah.
Dads don't do as much as we do, but that's okay. We'll let that go. So we're training, and
Dads, you do other things.
you do.
Okay.
You provide.
Cheers to
We're
the
amazing,
dads. Yeah.
right?
Uh-huh.
So we are working out. I go for my personal best. Bench, 75 pounds. It's not that much. My legs could do, way more than that. But so I go to move, bench it, up we go, we come down. Yeah, I'm ready to go back up. Left arm went, right arm said no.
Shoot.
Yeah. So I said, take my bar. And after that, I was done. I was like, I can't do this. I went back to my orthopedic. And this is what I said to him. This is my face. So I'm not being, that mean right now, but this is how I was. I go, look, this is messing with my quality of life. So how about you go in there and take a look around? You can do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. Turns out I had a bone spur, shredding a tendon. And if anybody knows anything about musculoskeletal, your tendons attach your muscles to your bones. So I was getting ready to basically lose my muscle off my bone in my shoulder. So I had the surgery, had the repair. That was in Memorial of 16. By July, I was out of my sling. I was able to get out of PT. I wanted to get back to working out, but I knew I was not going to go back into the training, the boot camps. I love yoga, but it just didn't give me that, that adrenaline, those endorphins kick in. What can I do? What's this Pilates thing? Leaning and elongating, 5'3". Yes, let's do this. 2 times on the reformer.
Who doesn't want to be taller?
Hooked.
Really?
Yeah. Two
So
times.
what was it? Like, did you just feel like an energy? Did you feel like, was it a sensation in your body? Like, did you?
Yes.
All of it. Okay.
All of it. The energy that radiates through, the sensation, this strength you're getting. And this is something that so many people ask me, Tish, what's the difference of Pilates and yoga? The difference is yoga lengthens you. You feel amazing. You get that meditative zen. Maybe you're doing a vinyasa class. You get that high energy, but you still walk out feeling a bit like a wet noodle. Like, oh, I feel great. I'm pliable. I can move. Pilates, we take that lengthening, but we work on that deep muscle strengthening. So you're getting actually taller as you get stronger. I know, like let's all sit up a little taller. We're going to grow out of the crown of that skull.
Exactly, yeah.
So I started that fall of 16. I went heavy into teacher training. And by January of 17, I was teaching apprentice in a studio in downtown Plymouth.
Did you ever see yourself being a Pilates instructor or a, fitness instructor, anything like that? No?
No, I'm a nurse science major.
Okay.
I actually wanted to be an elementary teacher.
So what were you doing before that then?
Real estate. I was in real estate.
Okay. So you went from real estate into fitness, but it sounds like you like just taking care of your life, like healthy lifestyle has really just been a part of who you are anyway, right?
Yeah.
Because I often feel too like the commitment that is required.
It's huge
for a lot of people. Is there has to be some underlying piece of I want something more for myself. I want something better.
Yep.
So that was that for you came from I want my child ruined my body. But I think too when I went to my first yoga class 18, 17 years ago, I walked out of there. I was like, this is insane. I literally said to myself, I will be doing this for the rest of my life because it lengthened and strengthened in ways. And I've never done Pilates, so I'm admitting to Tish that
she's going to come.
She's got to take me through the ropes so I have something to compare it to, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so that'll be a cool video. We're gonna
oh my gosh, we will do that.
Right? Yes, we're gonna record the whole session and we'll cut it up and you'll get through the experience. But I think too, whether it's yoga or Pilates, I think those two. I know she's gonna say no, they're not the same at all, but I think they're in the same family of right.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
Joseph Pilates himself was a yogi.
Okay.
So you'll see when you start doing Pilates, there are a lot of similar movements, but the intention is different.
Okay.
We're taking our Pilates principles and applying them to what you're doing. And I'm not going to say as opposed to yoga that just flails around because it does not flail either.
If you're doing it properly.
If you're doing it properly.
Some people flail. Some people flail. Yeah.
People flail all the time. It doesn't matter if you're at the gym or you're at PT or whatnot.
Right.
But I really, really think that the two, they really can live harmoniously together.
Yeah.
And as Joseph, inspired us all.
Yeah. When did he develop Pilates?
Well, he started out in Germany. He's German citizen. And he was, as a child, he had rickets. He was an asthmatic. So his parents were very holistic. His dad was a fitness person. So he kind of embraced that. And he was a boxer. So he kind of cured himself. He started kind of creating this like Adonis, like I want to be Adonis. Like he actually has patterned himself. And if you see pictures of Joe, he's like in his little tidy whities and sometimes he's wearing a white t-shirt, but most of the time he's in his like tidy whitey briefs.
We need a picture of that. So when I edit this, it's going to like slide up onto the camera.
We will get you a picture of Joe.
Yeah. Okay.
But, and then he actually, during the war, he was in an internment camp in England in the Isle of Man.
Yeah.
And his people that were in his ward, so to speak, were the healthiest when the pandemic came out, when the Black Plague came out.
Yeah.
So nobody in his ward got sick because they were all under his care, so to speak.
Just like the Black Plague from like early 1900s?
Yes.
Back then,
yes,
like
yes.
1918?
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
So, because you put me on the spot, I'm like, what year was he born? 1860?
Yeah. Okay. So I wasn't sure if we were talking about the 70s or the 1870s, right?
Okay. Yeah. So
okay.
Anyway, so then afterwards he went back to Germany and the brown coats, as they called them, right? The Nazis during the war, wanted him to train the soldiers. And he was not about that.
Yeah.
So he said, peace out. So he actually got on a boat and came to America and landed in New York.
Lucky yeah.
He met his wife on the boat, Clara. And
That was a fun boat ride.
you know, you say Titanic. I'm just kidding. Not really. So yeah, and they landed, and he opened up a small studio in New York, right off of Broadway. So he had a lot of dancers coming to him.
Yeah.
So huge fitness background, huge dance.
But that improved the dancers' performance, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, really an interesting story.
Yeah.
He and his wife, unfortunately, never had children, but he had his original 6 disciples that trained under him that now have branched, right? Now Pilates has branched out sequentially like a tree.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
But downward roots.
Right.
Out.
Yeah. I love it. I mean, that's, you know, when we think about anything in this world is about the mycelium that grows underneath the soil, right? So mycelium is usually like fungal, and it makes, like, fungus has been around forever. And so that's a great story that he just created this network that would just grow roots deep and then expand out and then become, I mean, it's worldwide, right? So
worldwide. It's
holy
global.
moly.
It's so global,
Yeah.
which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And I like to say that there are 3 major players in the Pilates industry, and then you have all the little sub-tiers. Okay, so you have your 3 major players globally. You have Balanced Body, which is what I'm comprehensively trained. You have STAT.
These are style.
Yep.
Okay, so would this be equivalent to
and style.
yoga? Like there's vinyasa, there's slow flow. Is it that kind of a thing?
It's not quite an apple to an apple, but it's not an apple to an orange. There's similarities.
Okay.
We all carry the true classic Pilates within our training. Balanced Body, STAT, and Bazi. But then you have all the little sub-tiers that now have contemporary. Like Balanced Body is definitely more contemporary than classic Joseph Pilates. So, you know, we have those. But then you have the people who are sub-tiered, all the layers down that they've kind of enveloped and expanded in their own repertoire.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say there's a right way and there's a wrong way, definitely.
So people put their own spin.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
But still maintaining the roots
yes.
of it.
Yes.
And so where do you see the progression when sometimes with yoga, and I'm just saying yoga because this is the only world. I'm a yoga girl.
We'll get her to Pilates one day.
But in yoga, you'll see power yoga.
Yes.
Where they're basically just adding like push-ups and body weight things to a yoga class to increase heart rate and increase strength. But to me, that's not necessarily, that loses some of the roots of true yoga. So are there people in the industry who are taking Pilates and doing that kind of a thing?
Oh, I am
sort of bastardizing the roots of Pilates.
I'm sure there are. And I'm not going to say that there's a right way, there's a wrong way. Bastardizing is a great word.
Is that a good word?
It's a great word for it because there's slowly, as the roots get deeper and deeper and that tree spreads further and further out from the original.
Dilution.
Thank you. That was a great word for it. It kind of does lose its emphasis on the why. There, you know, Pilates principles. Why are we doing this? Are you breathing right? Is your concentration right? Is your centering? Is your form? Is your rhythm? So all of that. But now we just like, let's do calisthenics at the same time we're doing Pilates. It's not the same. But, you know, I mean.
So let me ask you this question. Back in the early 90s, I spent 5 years doing physical therapy rehab in an orthopedic setting for a very well-known group of orthopedic surgeons in Southfield. That was my life prior to being a chiropractor, which actually spun off very well into this world.
Good.
And a lot of the rehab that we did, because you talk about Pilates being, you know, focusing on those smaller muscles. So we did a lot of rehab, especially with shoulders. You've got to get into the smaller muscles because it's really easy to build strength on those bigger muscles and you neglect the smaller tissues and then they become weak. And so we would take, it wasn't Pilates, but we would take a similar approach in that we have to start small. We did lightweight bands, things that would get deep, more dynamic type of things that would help those deep muscles, tendons, and ligaments, and then work our way out. So if Pilates starts on those smaller scales, at what point does it fan out, or does it just by nature of progression grab those larger muscles over time? How does that work?
It's the nature of the movement. So
Okay.
we are focusing solely on, if we're thinking about, like, let's say everybody wants to work legs. Yeah. Don't we all? We want. I did too in my Pilates world. We all want to have like shapely legs. I want my hamstrings to pop. I want my quads to show. Like, I just want a nice, like, we women, we want shapely legs. But it starts way up where your femur, right, comes into your socket. The little deep muscles that pull that femur up into your socket, they're much smaller, right? So they're much smaller.
Like that short.
They do a ton of work.
They kind of like do this.
They overlap each other. And so they get neglected. And then your big muscle groups, big muscles love to take over.
Mm-hmm.
Love to take over. So the big muscles are like, yay, I get to work. Quads, I get to work. Hamstrings, I get to work. But then the little ones are so weak, then we find that we are having hip issues, right? Oh, no, I've got greater trochanter. I've got bursa. I've got IT band issues because we're not working from the sublayers out. Yeah. So there's a really great class in my program, The Balanced Body, that I'm trained in. One of the prerequisites is called Anatomy in 3D. Such a cool class. You have the skeleton. He's about, 16, 18, 20 inches tall. Half of them. I named mine Stan.
Okay.
We roll out clay, cut it in the shape of the muscles, and then we attached it to Stan, my Stan, inside out. So we built the body from the muscles inside all the way to the outside, which was fantastic.
Yeah.
Right. So you really get an understanding, especially as an instructor.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize. A lot of people don't know. There's 5 huge adductor muscles. There's, your deep hip rotator muscles. How many glutes do you think you really have?
A lot more than you think. Well, and Tish and I had this conversation earlier because I was telling her about a client I had that came in and said she'd had piriformis syndrome for 20 plus years. Now, just to let you know, what is piriformis syndrome? So there's multiple muscles in your gluteus medius, in your butt. Okay, let's talk like we're in 4th grade, right? So make sure everybody know what we're talking about. In your butt. So there's all these big muscles that overlap. And then the piriformis is just it's just a little, I call it a strap muscle. I'm trying to remember if that's officially what it's called, because it comes in it and it overlaps and it secures the sciatic nerve. So the sciatic nerve comes out from the lower back. As it comes down across the glute, then the piriformis muscle comes and straps it down. And so a lot of people who have sciatic pain, it may not be actual sciatica. It could be something in the piriformis, but no one has piriformis syndrome for 20 years.
Not 20 years.
And the problem is you probably have weak abductors, which are the big muscles that so abduct, take away. So it's the muscles that move your leg outward in an outward direction. And so we worked on that and we said, you don't have piriformis syndrome. No, in a lot of therapeutic therapies, repertoires, practices, they would go in and they would do massive trigger point work into that piriformis stretches, and that doesn't work. And so I started her with glute medius, which is what the major muscle that does abducting, so taking the legs out.
Yeah.
And she feels more stable. She has no more pain. She's like, I don't know why for 20 years I've been trying to target the piriformis. So I think that Pilates sounds just such a, I mean, it sounds like something I also need to be studying because
she needs to come take it.
I know. I'm
in home studio now, so she can just come to my house and we can do it there.
Well, I was going to ask you that. So you've sold the business.
I sold the business.
And so what's 2.0 now?
2.0, well, we're at a 1.5.
Okay, all right.
We're at 1.5 right now.
We can be at 1.5.
We're chilling. We have an in-home studio now. And I take clients selectively for that.
And it's selected.
She was selected. She was selected. And then, 2.0 is, our master plan and retirement to no longer be in the state of Michigan. So when that happens, I don't know.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, we'll get you there. But we'll get her working on that. And who knows, maybe we'll do a podcast after that on how I made her find her glute medius. So I like to say, and just so you all know, I don't want to say commoners, but those who don't know the human body.
Commoners.
The commoners. I always said in class, you have your mama bear, papa bear, baby bear, glute muscles. So papa bear, big max on the back, right? There's the one we want booty popping, right? Thank you, Justin. We appreciate you.
Justin's a cool
amazing.
Dude. We're trying to find him a really amazing farm to table restaurant to work at.
Because he's a fabulous server and his personality stellar.
And he's got really great tattoos. Come and say hi, Justin.
Yeah, just walk over here. Come on, you can do it.
He's like, no.
He's like, yes, he will. Look, I knew it.
Here comes Justin.
Hi, Justin. Yeah. So, thank you, Justin. We appreciate. So anyway, going back to, like I was saying, Papa Bear, Mama Bear, Baby Bear. So I had Goldilocks. Papa Bear, Big Max on the back. Glute medius, Mama Bear. She kind of starts wrapping around the side of that hip. And then glute minimus kind of sits under.
He's a tiny one, too.
He's a tiny little guy. All of these work your hip. But we all think, let's do squats and make my booty pop. That's not what it entails. So going back to the hip, that's just a small little thing. But in the huge world, that's peanuts in the big world of all of our muscles.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and we talk about synergy too. That it's virtually impossible to. Well, I shouldn't say it's impossible to isolate a muscle. It's impractical, I would say, because how often in life are we isolating a muscle? That if you're not doing things that train you from a dynamic perspective. Right. You're probably going to hurt yourself. You know, I talk about in some previous videos that I've done, I've talked about squatting and bending over and touching your toes. So I'll just take those two exercises to begin with, where people are like, historically, you should never bend over and touch your toes and you should never squat down. Well, we do that every day of our lives. Why are we not training our bodies properly to be able to do that? Right. You know, so I see Pilates and yoga as the opportunity to train the human body to do the things that are dynamic every day in life, rather than just going, no, we're just going to isolate this muscle and do this. Well, yeah, I don't lift my groceries like this.
What,
right?
You don't lift your groceries every day, Paula? You carry them out from Costco?
Yeah, that's right. Just like this. I just get that bicep popping.
Get this gun.
That's right. Ooh, there's a gun show over there.
I do that too. It's so funny that I do that. So no, it's so true. And so the biggest question I get, or the biggest pushback I get, well, I can't do Pilates because I have X, Y, and Z. I have a bad back. Okay, well, why do you have a bad back? As a chiropractor, you see a lot of things too. As a Pilates instructor, I see a lot. But I'll say I have clients that have steel rods in their back from scoliosis surgery.
Yes, same.
But they're still doing Pilates. Now, they're not going to roll down to the mat the way that I want them because they can't bend. Yeah. But we can find another way. We can work your back extensor muscles. People who have steel rods in their back may not be able to bend forward, but they sure can lift off a mat from their bellies long.
They still have muscles.
They still have muscles.
Right.
Or I have, a hip issue, or I had a knee replaced. Okay, great. I've worked with all that. I've worked with hip replacements, knee replacements, shoulder replacements. So in actuality, a Pilates instructor is kind of like a physical therapist, especially on the one-on-ones.
Sure.
We are dealing, we know we're trained. Okay, we're working with this part of the body that now has had surgical repair or reconstruction. Yeah. And now the muscles have to adapt. So how do we work those muscles to be able to adapt? When I first got into Pilates, this is a really fun story. I love the story.
I was just going to ask you, what's your favorite story?
Oh my gosh, I tell this story all the time. I was an apprentice trainee at my first studio in downtown Plymouth. And one of the ladies in class, we would take classes, and she was starting to get into it. And she says, oh my gosh, so I've been telling my dad for years, he needs to do Pilates. Now, understand, here's the back history on this gentleman. He had been in a major car accident. He was in a coma.
Oh, wow.
Comes out of his coma. He sits at home in his recliner. Does nothing after PT,
sure.
Right? Because I'm going to raise my hand. I'll be the first one to say, I've done PT several times over, both my shoulder and my hip. I get done with my PT, and then I don't do my exercises at home.
Yeah, 100%. I was actually going to make a comment about that. We can go back to that in a second. But I get clients like that all the time. I went through PT.
Mhm.
Did it help? Yeah. Okay. Are you still doing what you were taught? Well, no, this is why I'm worse. Well, why
Right.
not? Because PT is it's the first layer. It's the initial rehab.
Yeah.
Then you go into something like Pilates. And then maybe you then go into
Mhm.
the gym, but it's a layer. Like you have to keep doing the things that are required. And I'm just going to say yoga and Pilates until I learn more. But I feel like those two are integral for our longevity,
Yes.
right? I don't, as much as I love being in the gym and lifting weights, and I lift pretty heavy weights, that's not it's long-term for me. But if I don't balance it with yoga and Pilates, it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where we have to really educate people is that it's not just one thing.
Yep.
Or, are you doing stretching? Well, I walk every day. Not the same thing.
No.
No, you have zero flexibility.
Right.
So anyway, going back to
So back to this. So finally, she's telling her father, she's like, Dad, you need to do Pilates. You need to do Pilates. And he's like, fine, I will try it 1 month. That's all I'm giving you.
I can't believe you gave it a whole month.
If I don't like it after a month,
yeah,
I'm done and I don't want to hear it. And she said, okay. So I was in my first year of apprentice training. He was in his 3rd year
oh my
of Pilates. He
That's
was
amazing.
81 and he had a scar from his unfortunate accident.
Yeah.
From ear to ear.
Oh my gosh.
Now, mind you, was he doing the ability that I could do? Absolutely not. So this is what I say all the time. Everybody and everybody can do Pilates. We just need to find the modifications that work for your body. Your body may be able to do something different than mine. I've got a hip that is going to need replacing in the next 3 years. It's just who I am because of all my years of boot camp and just my structure. I'm very hypermobile in my hip. So I've done a lot of damage. That's just me. I know how to work with that. This gentleman, I love this. I love this whole story. He's still doing.
That's amazing.
Still going.
Well, and think about it too. I always talk to people too. I want people to have a deep understanding of when we talk about these types of, I'll call them therapies or practices. Let's call them practices because I don't see it as therapies. I see them as lifestyles.
Yeah.
But when we talk about these types of practices, it goes far beyond the physical aspect. I really want you guys to get this. Neurologically, this is training your nervous system. And if we don't train the nervous system, we cannot make change to the musculoskeletal system. That is just my firm belief because so many clients come in, they're uncoordinated. They walk like this, right? I always say if you watch a toddler walk and then you watch an 80-year-old man walk, it's the same because you are gaining the ability to balance and coordinate. You lose it over time. You've got to be able to maintain that ability to balance and coordinate and keep those neurological pathways open. And those are going to be through different practices that are going to help to keep that neurological pathway strong so that you can then keep your frame strong. So I feel it really is a full, it's just a full body benefit.
Absolutely. And that was one thing. And I like how you talked about neural pathways because as you create these new pathways, I mean, it's neuroplasticity.
Right.
The brain is creating a new path, like it's carving a new lane in your brain to, okay, now, like if every day I grab my coffee cup with my right hand, but now I'm like, no, say I'm going to grab the left, the brain is like, whoa.
Right.
What do? We have to carve a new path.
Yeah.
So I love that. And then I was thinking of something else, and this happens all the time when you're 51. Brain pathways, 29. Yeah, I'm 29. My son, there's a funny story about 29. That's a whole different podcast. But Pilates is definitely a mind-muscle connection. So, I mean, I even have clients, I don't love it, but they will close their eyes so they can really, okay, Tish wants me to move. We're going to pull my hands down by my hips in straps. And if you're on the reformer, you understand what we're talking about. If you're not, we'll talk later. But it's like, can I use my back muscles, my back, to pull my hand down by my hip? That's totally a mind-muscle connection.
Right.
So, yeah, I talk about it all the time. I gear it. And Paul was talking about earlier about these smaller muscles doing the work. Like, if your smaller muscles of your rotator cuff are doing all the work, and if y'all know, like, rotator cuff injuries are so common because they're small muscles that hold 3 bones together, your arm, your collarbone, and your shoulder blade. If these muscles are doing all the work, but your middle of your back is not, your traps, your low trap, mid to low traps.
I talk about that all the time.
I
Those
know.
forward
Yeah, the
shoulders
forward shoulder,
and,
tight
you
pecs.
know,
But if
yes.
your mid traps are weak and they're not doing anything, but your rotator cuff muscles are doing everything, that's when we have tears. So how can we educate, i.e., how can I make you think to move my arm, I need to use my back? It's when you think of it in that aspect, it's a kinetic change.
For sure.
It's mind-blowing.
Yeah. Well, and people will often say, I pulled a muscle, or it's just a muscle.
It's just a muscle.
And I say, no, you changed your neurological pattern. Your nerves are telling your muscles to behave in a particular way. Now, you may have torn a muscle or you may have pulled a muscle, but what tells those muscles what to do? So that's why I always take it back to the nervous system, which is where chiropractic comes in, because chiropractic keeps your brain communicating with your body at 100%. So you have a fuller capacity for healing. Then we bring in these other lifestyle practices that, boom, I mean, you'll be on fire if we can put all of that together.
Absolutely. Radiculopathy.
Right.
Radiculopathy. Oh, I have a pain in my neck.
Define that for everybody.
Oh, gosh.
I know. It's 4th grade. It's pain down your arm or leg.
Pain down your arm or leg.
There you go. Like nerve pain. It's nerve pain.
Yeah, I know. But it's so interesting.
I don't mean to insult anybody by saying speak in 4th grade language, but it's it's
truly.
We do.
Who's smarter than a 5th grader?
I
Not
know,
me.
right? Not me. No. Tish, this has been amazing.
It's
so
much fun.
I'm super excited to go and check out Tish's in-home studio.
Yes.
Oh, do we ever get to have a cocktail after we do it?
100%.
Okay, perfect.
If it's early in the day, it'll be a mimosa. If it's later in the day, it'll be a margarita.
I love how she thinks. Okay. So tell people, what is the best way to reach you? How do they get onto your schedule as a client? I know you said you're selective about taking clients. So what does that look like to work with you?
So really right now, I am on both Facebook and Instagram.
Okay. Under what name? And I'll drop it in the link too.
Yeah, my Facebook is Pilates by Tisha.
Okay.
And because Tish was already taken, which is Pilates by Tish on Instagram. So just follow me on those social forums. I try to post the same content on both. Facebook isn't as friendly as Instagram. So if you're an IG fan, I love you. If you're on Facebook, I mean, I like you a lot, but you can still find me there, and just DM me and then we can go from there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Perfect. And so I feel like this is just a great combination of getting chiropractic, combining with Pilates, and really expanding the health of the world. My goal is to get people to build a legacy of health. I've said that because my mother raised me with a wellness mindset. I'm raising my daughter that way. And I feel like we really need to get more people inspired to live
100%.
like this so that, we have got
longevity.
To have our generation today is the first generation that will not live as long as us.
Gen Xer.
Yeah. So their lifespan is about 3 to 4 years less.
Gen Zers?
I don't
Millennial,
know. Whatever.
You're a Gen
whatever
Z.
we are.
We're Xers.
We're Xers.
We're Gen Xers.
Who's under us? Z?
Millennial. They're the 35.
So it's
and then
the
Gen
millennials.
X Zers. Gen Zers are our kids.
Okay. Oh, so the Gen Zs and the millennials. No, I think mostly the Gen Zs are 3 to 4 years less on lifespan.
Wow.
And our obesity rates are ridiculous. Our, processed food, the PFAS, the forever chemicals, all the things that you guys hear me talk about. Please go find some other videos on this channel. But in the meantime, this is all about Tish. I wanted to put a spotlight on her because she's amazing, and go follow her. And we will see you when I go do my Pilates.
For sure.
Yes.
Cheers, my friend.
We are absolutely going to record that. And as always, I appreciate you being here, supporting this channel. Please make sure you are liking. Please, if you're watching this video, go subscribe. Don't just watch it, but subscribe. This is how we grow and how we bring these messages of health and spotlighting people in our community to the world. So I appreciate you being here, and I am looking forward to seeing you on the next one and when I go to Tish's for my first Pilates.